Here are 3 simple evidence-informed strategies to improve mobility. And no, it's not just stretching. Patients and athletes alike have been told, whoa, if you feel tight, you need to stretch. And to be fair, the subjective sensation of tightness is real. People report it in their hamstrings, lumbar spine, shoulders, often chronically. But here's a key point. That sensation is not always explained by reduced muscle length. In many cases, it reflects a protective output of the nervous system. A useful way to conceptualize this is through a threat modulation lens. The body regulates movement based on perceived safety. When the system detects insufficient control, stability, or familiarity, it may increase tone or stiffness as a protective strategy. So the tightness isn't necessarily the problem. It's a signal. And what do most people do? They address the signal rather than the driver. They stretch repeatedly. Sometimes they get short-term relief, likely due to altered stretch tolerance or transient neural effects. But the sensation returns. Why? Because the underlying issue, such as insufficient motor control or load tolerance, hasn't changed. A growing body of research suggests that perceived stiffness is influenced as much or more by neural factors and sensory perception as by the mechanical properties of tissue. In other words, the brain restricts range when it doesn't trust the system to control it. This reframes the goal. Mobility is not just range of motion. It's usable, controllable range. Consider 2 individuals. One demonstrates high passive flexibility, like easily touching their toes, but lacks strength or control under load. Another has more limited range but demonstrates strong, coordinated control through the hips and spine. From injury risk perspective, the second individual is often better prepared for real-world demands. Flexibility without control is insufficient. Another important layer here is behavioral. Stretching feels productive. It provides immediate sensory feedback, which reinforces the habit. But it may also perpetuate reliance on passive strategy instead of developing active capacity. So, what's a more effective approach? First, shift the clinical question. Not how do we reduce tightness, but where is control lacking? For example, instead of prescribing passive hamstring stretching, consider controlled hip hinge patterns like slow Romanian deadlifts with body weight or light load, emphasizing tempo and positional awareness. Second, build strength at end ranges. There is good rationale to support that increased force production capacity at terminal ranges can improve the nervous system's tolerance for movement there. If an individual is weak at the extreme motion, protective tone may increase. Interventions might include split squats with full depth control, end range isometrics, slow controlled lunges. Third, don't overlook respiration. Breathing has a direct influence on autonomic state. Rapid, shallow breathing patterns are associated with increased sympathetic activity, while slow, controlled breathing can facilitate parasympathetic dominance. Before defaulting to stretching, it can be useful to down-regulate the system. Have the individual take 4 to 6 slow, controlled breaths, then reassess the movement. Often, the perceived restriction changes. Zooming out, this is less about flexibility in isolation and more about capacity. Are we helping people develop robust, adaptable movement system, or are we just providing temporary symptom relief? A useful reframe for both clinicians and active individuals is this: shift from chasing range to earning it. So when someone says, "I feel tight," a better follow-up question might be, do you need more range or more control within the range you already have? I'll see you on the next one. This is PT Pete. Catch you next time on It Is What Is.